welcome to Tigers, blah, 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 Hull City podcast with me, Luke Flanagan, and Rich Walker is my co-host. He's here as well.
Hello.
We're not in person today, are we?
No, thank God.
You don't have to look at me this time, it's just through the phone.
Well, yeah, same goes for you not having to look at me. But,
I quite enjoyed it last week, to be fair, before
don't have
lockdown.
to breathe on each other and do all that bad stuff that we're not supposed to do.
Yeah, you're not allowed
anymore.
to do that now. You're not allowed to breathe, are you?
No.
So, yeah, anyway, we've got a few things to talk about today's episode. A couple of things before we get started. As usual, we're just going to thank our sponsors and partners and Patreons and stuff. So, Hull City Ladies, you will have seen, I'm sure, have had their fixtures suspended until Wednesday, the 2nd of December, in line with all the lockdown measures. Because the Northern Premier Division, which they play in, is actually classed as Tier 3, and therefore it's not classed as elite, so they won't have any fixtures for the next month, which I know they're disappointed about, but I'm sure once we get back to it, we'll be able to make it down there for games and everything, so something we've just put on the back burner, I suppose. They've done a statement on the Twitter. So if you want to know more about that, just have a look at Hull City LFC. It is they are on Twitter.
Yeah, if you want to go to those games, stay out of your family's houses for the next month, for God's sake.
Yeah, right, innit? We've got Fan Hub as
well.
Don't
go in the back garden either.
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Jesus Christ, it's rife in there.
God forbid. Tell you where it's not rife: work, school, holiday.
That's fine.
They're all right.
That's fine.
Yeah, innit? So yeah, without getting political.
If your activity makes money, do it.
Exactly.
If it just makes you happy, don't.
Don't talk to people to help out. Don't socialise to help out. That's the new one. FanHub _football is our other partner. They've got a pinned tweet from last week, or the week before actually, that goes about representing your club. Exclusive early access to the app. So whether lockdown will change that, I don't know, but not that I've heard. So have a check out of them. And then we've got Patreon names: Danny Nicol, Ewan Jones, Adam Brown, Alex O'Neill, Mike Hassan and Aaron Bell. I'd say we would do more episodes over lockdown, but actually we're not affected, are we? We just still work. So
yes,
we won't have any extra time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we can do for those Patreons. Obviously, we appreciate everybody who does that. We have got Rich Fleming coming back. He said there was an issue with payment and stuff, so he's basically just... I think he'd lost his wallet and had to cancel his cards. I think it happens to all of us. But he said he'll come back in.
I once lost my wallet.
Did you?
On a bus from Beverley to Hull, and I obviously it's really annoying to lose your wallet.
Obviously.
But then at the end of the day, when I got the bus from Hull back to Beverley, I sat in the same seat. And my wallet was down the side of the seat. It'd just been riding around on the 121 all day. And there was still everything in it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It shows how few people get on that bus. Can you imagine?
I don't know.
Can you imagine
I was just really...
now? It'd been lifted out your pocket, mate, straight away.
Yeah. I was just incredibly lucky.
Man, somebody was looking after you that day, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I don't know who.
Right, anyway, so... I think we did struggle this week, did we not, to really have a good, bad, and everything else?
I've got it all sorted.
You've got it all sorted.
A good, a bad, and a number.
Okay, yeah. All right, okay. So, do you want to start with your good? We'll do the traditional shit sandwich where we start with something good, have the shit in the middle, and then finish on a little positive.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so my good, I was looking for the less obvious good in the aberration that was the performance at Swindon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, without giving too much away, you've gone for the positives that most people would have gone for.
I'm sure I will have done, yeah.
Yeah, so I've, not wanting to pick the same thing, I've gone for Josh Emmanuel.
Right, okay. Yeah, not the same as me.
No, I don't... like you say, it was a struggle to think of too much more. beyond what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But I thought Emmanuel again just showed exactly why he is now first choice right back. Injury to Louis Coyle notwithstanding, what we're getting from Emmanuel every week is at worst a 6 out of 10, and at best, you're looking at 7 or 8.
He's been very consistent this year.
He really has. What impressed me about him on Saturday was as much as he could in that back four, he looked defensively sound, but he was also probably, as that insipid second half went on, he was probably one of our more dangerous attacking players as well.
He does always have that outlet where he looks like he's dangerous, like he could create something, whether he's an overlapper or whether he's hitting a cross into the box. He puts decent balls in, doesn't he? Whereas I think someone like Elder is hit and miss. Sometimes his balls in are absolutely magnificent, and other times he's just poor. I think he's far more consistent.
With Elder, you get a little bit more consistency of delivery in his free kicks.
Yeah, corners
obviously that's not something you're getting from Emmanuel because he doesn't take them. But Elder's dead ball deliveries are certainly better than his from open play, which you probably expect from most players who are given dead ball responsibilities.
Yeah.
But for me, Emmanuel is, if you were to compare the two fullbacks, Emmanuel has been much more consistent in general, and at times could probably feel hard done to that he's not been spoken of more in games. I think
I'd say that was fair.
He's constantly on the move. He's always trying to look to get outside of his winger to provide support. And we've said it previously that he allows Wilkes to go roaming into areas where he's more dangerous. Obviously, that didn't pay off for him on Saturday.
Yeah.
But that wasn't through a lack of effort or quality for Emmanuel. I thought he gave you everything that you would ask him to.
Yeah.
He was just extremely unfortunate that quality performance wasn't matched by his teammates. Yeah,
it was a shame, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know. He's got, as a fullback, he's got the full package, hasn't he, really? Because he can defend very well. A lot of the threats he snuffs out, and we don't really concede goals down his side, do we?
We haven't done so far, no.
I'm not saying that
an anomaly, or because we're looking at a small sample size with only 10 games or what.
He just seems to be able to read each player he plays very well. The only time he's really come up against anything was, in my opinion, was really Fleetwood, because he was obviously told to push up so high. So was Elder. That was the way that they were trying to play, and it didn't pay off, did it? But aside from that, I don't think the goals came from his side even, did they? It was mainly Saunders who was on the other side against Fleetwood.
Yes.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I do think sometimes it's very easy to overlook the defence if they have a clean sheet, because the focus will have been over the last 4 or 5 games on Jacob Greaves, because he has been very good. He wasn't so good against Peterborough. He didn't have a bad game, but there were a couple of errors in there.
No, but I think when we watched the goals back together, didn't we?
Yeah, last week,
we looked at both of them and said Greaves could do better.
And I remember
on both of them.
I remember listening to what's it called? He used to play for Forest. Mike Crossley, the keeper, when he was on Under the Cosh, and McCann's done something similar to what he said that Cloughie did when he was a young keeper. So he'd put him in for 3 or 4 games, then he'd take him out and leave him in the under 23s or reserves. He's done that on purpose, I think, just to shield him a little bit. Because
and it's an approach with young players that I agree with, because you are going to see those performances from them whereby
it's not going to be 8 out of 10 every week.
The best. No, that's the thing with young players. It's about allowing them to learn the game and to develop their consistency.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do get the lads who you can put straight in.
I think Lewis Potter is the example of that.
Well, again,
but last year it wasn't like that, was it?
Yeah, you say that about Lewis Potter, but I mean, he made 20 substitute appearances in the league last season.
an awful. He
So it's
barely
not like
started,
he's been
did he?
rushed in. One league
Yeah.
start.
I mean, even when he scored that
So
goal against, because he came on as a sub against Charlton, scored there, even though it wasn't given to him. He scored against Barnsley as a sub, and then he came on against Birmingham as a sub, I think, just before Christmas, wasn't it?
And scored
as well. So often the kind of vitriol that we saw at the end of last season was often aimed from the camp because he refused to play Lewis Potter. He probably made the right decision in the end, because you wouldn't have wanted a young lad to have all that responsibility on him when we were clearly a sinking ship anyway. It wouldn't have been good for his development, would it?
That's the thing with an 18, 19-year-old.
You can't just see him as the saviour, and then when it doesn't happen, people are like, oh, he's not all that.
You can't look in most instances for an 18 to 19-year-old to be one of the central pieces of your team. Like with them, you almost have to put them aside and say, okay, what's good for the team in the short term might not be good for this player's development in the long term. And I think with things like that, you always have to go with the player's long-term development.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's doing currently with Greavesy, and I think that's fine. I think that's the right thing to do. My positive was Lewis Potter, mainly his goal, to be honest, because
it was excellent, wasn't it?
I mean, score that after 15 minutes, you think this is going to be good.
It looked that way as well, didn't it?
We were on
all
top.
over the place at the back.
They were awful, and then we switch off from a corner, and fucking Paul Caddis, mate.
Well, let's not go there yet. You're talking about Lewis Potter.
The way he picks up the ball and just drives at the defence, the confidence that he's got, like at the minute, with all the goals that he's got so far, he's either poacher, right place, right time, or he's scoring the spectacular. I mean, can you imagine if that Fleetwood effort that he actually scored would have counted?
Yeah,
that would have been on the when fans do finally get back in the KC, that would have been added to the loop of the goals that they played before they come on, wouldn't it?
highlight reel stuff.
It was brilliant, but he's really impressed me this season. I mean, it was good for him to get off to such a good start when he scored against Gillingham after 2 minutes. I think that did his confidence a world of good.
Well, the penalty against
Sunderland and that as well. Yeah, I mean, to score the winning penalty, as it were, because he scored against Leicester as well, actually, before Gillingham, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Great header as well.
It's almost like he not only has he been given the chance to play and to become a first team player, but in scoring on those occasions, it's like it was a very visible kind of notification that, okay, I'm here now. I am a player.
He's like, well, shirt's
can handle
mine.
the responsibility.
That left wing shirt is mine, and you're not going to take it off me very easily.
Yeah, it's like in taking the fifth penalty at Sunderland, scoring against Leicester, scoring against Gillingham. He has announced himself. It's like, I am a first team player now.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can count on me. I'm ready for the responsibility.
Yeah. So I think that was one of the positives to come out of the game.
The thing that I loved about that goal wasn't just that he ran through the middle of Swindon's defence and made them all look like part players. It was the physicality that he showed in it, because he shrugs off a couple of challenges.
He's really developed. Like he's been in the gym over lockdown.
Something that McCann said in the week.
Yeah, I heard him say that.
You can see the change in him, and you can he's looking more like a man. I mean, you compare him with Samuelson, who still looks like a child,
but physically he's still a child. Samuelson, he just gets knocked off the ball so easily, doesn't he? Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Lewis Potter has suddenly blossomed into was it Steve Fletcher used to play for Bournemouth and cut his shirt sleeves off to accentuate his muscles. It was him. It wasn't. But yeah, I'm not saying that Lewis Potter suddenly developed into him.
No, but he's definitely buffer. Isn't he? Just the way that he just boined those people off.
I'm saying it looks more like an adult. You could say
buff boy. Well, especially you. I presume you've watched the goal back again, but it is just like
a couple of times.
Bang.
Enjoyed
see you later. Just like, don't even come near me. And last year he did look a little bit slightly. So maybe lockdown and the pre-season that they did have he's just been told, right, get your strength up, get your fit, like not fitness, but get your physique stronger.
Could just be age.
Because
but also
age. You are going to be in a league where people are going to try and bully you because League One is like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you remember watching Josh Tyman play against Rochdale, and he was like 16 at the time. There was just this big fat cunt of a striker on him. But he just dealt with him so well. He was strong.
Yeah, he stood up to it that day.
I mean, I'm not sure where Timon is now because he was great for us, and then he went to Stoke, and then it didn't really work for him. But it was that kind of.
Still there?
Is he still there? Because he went out on loan, I think.
I believe so.
He went out on loan to somewhere in Portugal.
He was at MK Dons last season, wasn't he?
Was he? Oh, was he at MK Dons?
Was it last season?
It might have been the end of last season actually, because I think he actually spent some time in Portugal. He was on loan at some Portuguese team.
He did. He went out to MK Dons in 2018, and he was at a Portuguese team. I think he pronounced it Famalicão.
Yeah, that sounds familiar actually. Yeah, sounds familiar. I remember seeing he'd gone abroad anyway on loan, but anyway, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
He's been back at Stoke.
All right, fair play. I think that's it. That's the exhausted. Good.
Yeah, there weren't many.
There really weren't. Do you want to go with your bad then? That's good.
Yes, I will go with my bad. Mind you, it depends what's yours. Again, another edit point.
Well, I said the second goal was my bad.
I was going to go with the second goal because I was going to look at device.
Right, okay. I'll tell you what, I'll do something else. You do that one.
So, are you going to look at the first, or should we talk about the first goal first?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll do the first. Let's talk about the first goal first.
Okay.
It's really.
So you're bad. If we're going in sequential order, I think you should.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll keep it. We'll break tradition with that, but yeah, I'll go with it because it makes chronological sense. Yeah, it was just so. It wound me up so much to watch. It's not like City have been, is it? The switching off.
I don't know. I think
the switching off and just. I mean, let's talk about that first goal. What was that?
It was like you say, lapse in concentration. I watched it back about half an hour ago. I watched it a couple of times, and it wasn't one player that lost his man. Because probably you.
Well, I heard Burns
could look at Cadiz and say
Cadiz lost his man. It was Eves' fault, and I thought, well, that's not.
Well, Eves certainly ran past him.
He did, but it wasn't just
Eves ran past Cadiz, but Lewis Potter's come away out of that area with his back to the ball. I think was it Callum Elder would be front stick.
He's usually there, isn't he?
So that could potentially be his thing. Nobody switched on. They've all gone into an area to pick a man or, whatever.
They weren't sharp enough. It was just lazy.
No. The thing that would maybe catch them out would be that, I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't studied Swindon's set pieces and the way that they attack them. But generally it's not the done thing to have your fullback in the area. Particularly someone of Cadiz's stature.
It did seem a little bit like off the cuff. That it was almost like the thinking of.
That's the thing.
You remember when Liverpool beat Barcelona with that short corner from Alexander-Arnold? That sort of thinking reminded me of that a little bit, but a really shit version of it.
They were alive to the situation, and we weren't. And I know we both said in text messages to each other that Cadiz was annoying during the game. Yeah,
but it was just like the Whelan. I was slagging him, but actually he did really well against us for Fleetwood. It was exactly the same. It was like, I wish we had somebody who was that switched on there.
Cadiz's performance, I thought, typified the difference between the two teams.
They just wanted it more.
What I thought ultimately cost City was just that bit of street smart to his game. He was into everything, challenges, little bits of niggly wasting time. You could see he was certainly getting in players' heads towards the end of the game.
It was definitely what we did to Northampton in many respects.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was anyway. We proper shithoused them. And then when they were 2-1 up, they were doing all the things we usually do, which is waste time and, like Emmanuel stepping over the boards to get the different ball that's just gone off, even though there's one in front of him. Just little psychological things like that just rile the opposition up, and they played it perfectly, didn't they?
So, yeah, and the best moment he had of the game, and everything that built up towards that and that he continued doing afterwards was in the goal. He was switched on. He's a fantastic strike. But like you say, the reason it's so bad is because we switched off so badly. Whoever's supposed to be picking up that man, or even if he, that's probably it. Probably Cadiz, like we say, didn't have a man designated to pick him up on set pieces. That's why they've all run past him. Nobody's picked him up.
Yeah, and I mean, there's two ways with this. And what I was going to say was, I don't know if you saw that shambolic defending by Man United yesterday. For that first goal.
I didn't. I read about it. I've got better things to do than watch Man United.
I didn't watch Man United, can I just say? I'm not interested in watching Man United, but because this goal was so ridiculous, it was all over Twitter, so I've seen it quite a lot.
Right.
Essentially, what happened with that was they took a short corner and lost it, and they just hoofed it up the other end, and there was nobody on Demba Ba in his own half, and he just ran through and scored. Now, at the end of the game, Solskjaer came out and said, it's my responsibility because I'm supposed to give players like instructions from the sideline. And actually, I disagree with him because, yes, it's the manager's responsibility to say, right, this is your job from this corner, you do this, you do that. But as a professional footballer, you switch on and look alive to the situation. You go, you've played on Saturday and played on Sunday. No, who's marking him? Fucking mark him. You know what I mean, don't you? Like, it doesn't.
Isn't that the job of your keeper if he's in his own half and he sees an opposition player on the halfway line? Who's he telling?
Accusation to be levelled, absolutely. But what I'm saying is, it's not just like if they've been through all of the drills, and McCann said, "Make sure you mark him, you mark him." He's not there normally. They need to be more switched on with it. Use your common sense.
Exactly. You cannot just say, but I'm going here because that's what's written on the whiteboard in the changing room. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like you need to be alert to the in-game situation as well.
Man. It's like, well, it's fucking somebody's man, and if you saw him there, just dive, and even if you're blocking the shot.
Yeah, just because it's a corner doesn't necessarily mean you should revert to instruction. It's like if that was a free kick.
It was very Sunday League.
You're not
that.
Yeah, it was. It was so lax. And that's appropriate, really, that you mentioned very Sunday League, because I think that would move on quite nicely to my negative from the game, which was Yordi device again.
I'm sure I'll be able to chip in this because you're talking about the second goal, aren't you?
I am talking about the second goal. And it's a funny one because after about 20, 25 minutes, I was looking at Device and I was thinking, he's playing really well today. I thought he started the game very, very well. He made a vital block in his own 6-yard box to deny them. I think it would have been the opening goal of the game at that point.
Yeah.
His distribution was decent. And I was thinking this could quietly be Device's best game of the season. And then it all went wrong. It all went wrong. I mean, that second goal
escalated quickly. It did, didn't it?
It did. It did. There's fault all over the pitch for that second goal. We tried to initiate high press.
Yeah.
Which we're all about, and we've used it to fairly good effect at times this season. You've got Lewis Potter and Doherty going in very aggressively up top. And it's stretched us in the middle of the park, so you can see that Honeyman's probably slightly further ahead than you would want him, and Smallwood is isolated. So the ball comes down that right-hand side, and it gets worked inside. And at this point, it goes into an area of the pitch where there's no danger, I would say. There's no real danger. Just inside our half on the right-hand side. Smallwood's in the middle. He's not close to the man that's going to be receiving the ball, but you could say that he's in a position where he can get back in and deal with it. This man who's receiving the ball as well, to the best of my memory, has his back to our goal. So he's going to receive it. He's going to have to take a touch and turn. For some reason, Device decides to charge out of his
How many
defensive line.
times they do this, though?
Exactly. And it's not the first time he's done it this season either. He's charged out of his defensive line to put this man under pressure where really there's no need for him to be doing that. He's leaving space behind.
Just keep your position.
Yeah, and this is something that we're seeing not only from him, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of Elder's mistake for Peterborough's goal the other week.
Oh yeah, just overcommitted and he just did himself.
Comes herring out, spacing behind.
Yeah,
and you've got no opportunity to recover.
He goes right the other end and crosses it, and this goal.
Yeah, same for Device on Saturday. Just came charging out. It's like, let the play happen in front of you.
It was very Sunday League, that. I was just like, you just think, that was essentially my commentary.
It was never there because he was a million miles off. He was never going to get to him.
It annoyed me. They played out from the back so well because, like you say, the high press that Doherty was trying, and then Lewis Potter, they were doing the right things, but they were just then passing it out and pass. It made it look like fucking Barcelona. And that one really annoyed me.
I mean, the man that he's gone to pressurise as well. Like I say, if he'd got the ball, he has to turn on it. But he doesn't even get the ball. He just shows for it. And then Cadiz plays a
simple ball, really.
A ball inside, and it's like a one-touch passing behind into the space that Device has left behind for the on-running man. All right, you could probably say Smallwood's not switched on to the runner, but the space is only there because Device has come out.
Yeah, he shouldn't really have to track that runner there because it should be his man.
It should be happening in front of him. Like we say, he shouldn't have to, but he probably should in that situation. But it's like Device is out, Burke's exposed, he has to come rushing onto the man playing the ball in the middle. It's a litany of errors, but you can probably still get away with all of it if Device just holds his line rather than come bombing out. And then he sort of went from bad to worse from there because he's made that mistake, and then the rest of the game you can tell he's struggling to. So and there was an instance, I think it was late on in the game, where he had the ball unopposed in our half, and he just hacked it clear and it went out for a throw-in. Like, rather than trying to play,
as they would say.
Yeah, and it just seems
panicked, didn't he?
Sum his season up
Started
so far.
So well, and then he has a lapse in concentration, and his head's gone. So
you like I say, you can look at that goal and you can pick out 5 or 6 mistakes, but I think his was the biggest one. And as one of our senior players, let's not forget he was captain last season.
He needs
if
somebody
needs to be a little bit sharper than that.
If Greaves did that, you'd be like, he's just too keen because he's young and inexperienced. Device should be making that mistake.
No, I don't think so. I think he's I think he's better than he's showing at the moment.
I think he's a good defender. I'm not saying he's shit and we should get rid of him. I'm not one of those people. But
there will be a lot of people who will think that.
But he needs to up his game and prove him wrong. He needs to make sure that, particularly I very much doubt he will play against Fleetwood.
I wouldn't imagine so. And the thing is that he's given whoever comes in against Fleetwood opportunity to cement a place for themselves on that side, whether it's Jacob Greaves or McLaughlin or whoever it's going to be. There is an opportunity there for him because he's not grasping a share.
No. What I was going to do, I think, because I don't really want to depress myself anymore by talking about goals that we concede for stupid reasons. I was going to.
Well, just on that point, that is again the story of the game: not taking opportunities and giving away soft goals, and it's developing into a bit of a theme, isn't it?
Yeah, seems to be. What I was going to do is do something that's potentially a little bit like unorthodox. So I wanted to combine something that was kind of good, but help us to look forward to Fleetwood on. Well, I don't know if anybody's looking forward to playing Fleetwood on Saturday. But I did notice, because obviously our game against Accrington was postponed last week. We already knew that was going to happen.
Yes.
because of the COVID test that they'd had in their camp. Obviously, that'll be rearranged for later in the season, so at least we got a little bit of a break. But actually, there were a lot of players that didn't get a break because they played the under-23s on Monday.
Yeah.
I'll just read you the team. Long, Festus Arthur, Alfie Jones, Jacob Greaves, Fleming, Batty, Curtis Jones, Slater, Chadwick, Mayer, Scott was the starting lineup. Now, that kind of links to my number. I'm sure you've got a number as well. But my number was 9 because that's how many first-team regulars started for the under-23s. And what point I was going to make with this is it shows how many options that McCann has actually got at his disposal. And he's going to have to utilise over the next few weeks because it's very much Saturday, Tuesday after this.
Yeah, what have we got? 7
Something
games
like that,
now
because
in the next month.
We've got Fleetwood in the Cup. Then in the EFL Trophy, we'll go away at Harrogate.
It's not the EFL
Oh, sorry,
Trophy.
Papa John's Trophy.
It's the Papa John's Trophy. I mean, you know, people already think it's a Mickey Mouse competition.
Why would you do that? Why would you choose that sponsor?
The Papa John's Trophy. I mean, I suppose their money's as good as anyone else.
Well, I mean, they'll be grateful for any sponsorship, but I mean, I don't know what happened to the other one. There was a different trophy sponsor. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but they've shit out. I'm not sure where they've gone.
It'll always be the LDV Vans Trophy to me. That was it. That was its peak.
In the 90s.
and let's be fair. I think LDV Vans, as far as I know, there aren't any controversies associated with them like there are with Papa John's and LGBT rights.
No, definitely not. So, well, there you go. But yeah, that was my number. Trying to combine a lot of things there, but I thought it was quite interesting.
No, well, I think that's something that he's going to have to do, and I think he will look to do. He's lucky that he is afforded the opportunity, with that under-23s game, and now with back-to-back cup games where he can have a look at his squad. Not only because it'll give him a better idea what these players can do, but it'll also get minutes in the legs and allow the more established first-team players the chance to rest.
Yeah.
And
what I was going to say was,
just recover a little bit.
I was going to praise McCann, really, because he could have just let.
That will be popular.
I mean, I wouldn't praise McCann for that stupid Swindon performance, but he's obviously thought about it properly. He could have just let Dawson and his assistant play the whole 23 squad, couldn't he? But he's said, no, these lads need minutes. They need the fitness. They need the game fitness. So make sure you play them, and then within the next 5 days. So I'd expect quite a lot of those to start against Fleetwood. I would expect Scott and Mayer to start, for example. I'd expect Slater to start. I would expect Greaves and Fleming to start, and Long probably.
And
I think Jones
has probably earned
a spot there as well, because from when I was following the game, the under-23s game, Batty got sent off.
I know.
2 bookable offences, and I don't think that carries on to any sort of competition. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's pretty stupid from him because he's not been in the side as of late, and he's had a chance to get some fitness in there, and he's gone and got himself sent off. So I'm not sure where his head is at the minute.
Did McLaughlin play?
No, he didn't. No, he wasn't even in the squad.
Right.
So
That's
maybe, I don't know. Well, if you listen to McCann's presser this afternoon, this morning, basic.
Watched his interview on City's website as well.
They asked him if there was any injury worries, and he said no, because Joey Barton will be watching. I'm keeping that in house. But yeah, I thought it was good management of him to say all of these players haven't played full 90 minutes or haven't played a lot of football. They need some football. Play them in the 23s. I mean, they won 1-0 and Scott scored. That's the first time Scott scored in a long time. I think the last time he scored was
Birmingham. He did that, I think.
So
they spoke about it as a positive for him, didn't they? Or McCann did, saying, he's had a frustrating time with injuries and what have you, so it could be something just to get him going.
So that was my number, was 9, so the amount of first teamers that started. What was yours?
My number was 1.7.
Okay.
Okay. So 1.7 is the average points per game for teams finishing in the top 6 since 2004 to 5.
Okay.
So I've gone back, I've put an Excel spreadsheet
Ooh.
together with pivot tables and formulas and stuff. Because, I wanted to get geeky and granular. And I've put in the teams that have finished in the top 6
Yeah.
in League One since 2004 to 5, put in their points and calculated the points per game.
So you've done some proper research here.
I have, yeah. I wanted to find the average points per game for teams finishing in the top 6. And like I say, that was 1.7. I think that this will be a nice little thing that we could come back to every 10 games or so in the season, so we can kind of measure our progress against this, just to give us an idea of how we're performing. So 1.7 on average would see you finish in the top 6. Now, at the minute, obviously it's early days, but 10 games seems to be the accepted thing where you can start having a look at the table and thinking this is how it's coming together. It's a good indication you've got a decent kind of sample size to have a look at and think, okay, we can draw conclusions from this. At the moment, City are averaging 2.1 points per game.
Right, okay. So they're doing above average for what you just
said. So they are doing well enough at the moment. To finish in
the top 6 at the end of the season.
Were they on that rate at the end of the season? So there are other teams within the top 6 who are as good as or better than us on a points per game basis at the moment. Peterborough, obviously.
Well, yeah, they're top by 3 now because obviously we didn't play Tuesday and they won again.
Yeah, so Peterborough's points per game at the moment is 2.27, but then Charlton in 3rd are better.
Yeah, they've put a run together, haven't they?
Yeah, they have done. So, it just gives us a decent indication. If you wanted to kind of compare what other teams throughout that period have done, the highest points per game total for a team in League One from 2004 to 5 to now was Wolves in 2013-14. And they won the league that season on 2.24 points per game, which is exceptional. And the lowest points per game for a team that finished within the top 6 was Chesterfield in 2014-15, and they had 1.5, which when you think about it is really pretty low. Yeah. So it just gives us a marker for progress, and it's, on that basis, it's been a very, very good opening 10 games.
Certainly, and I think if you'd have said, 21 points out of 30, you would take
it. Yeah, you would take it.
You are definitely not going to win every game in this league because it comes there's so many fixtures and there's so many tough games, and styles of play are very different to the top sides often like to sort of get it on the deck and play like we saw against Peterborough, but there are sides like Northampton and like Gillingham that I was gutted that Gillingham actually got a win on Tuesday because I was pretty, Steve Evans had lost 5 in a row previous to that, and I did want to make it 6.
You were hoping for the sack
because it's just Steve Evans in it, but I'm sure you'd share the same sentiments as me.
I mean, no, you don't want to see anybody lose their job
if it's Steve Evans.
We'll make an exception.
I did look at the stats of that game. They won with 27% possession. Yeah, I think if you looked up smash and grab in a dictionary.
Well, the thing is, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? It's like you only look for the possession stats.
Potentially, yeah.
Because it's a stick to beat the victorious team with. Just before we move on from this, because I put a bit of effort into it.
I appreciate that effort.
Pivot tables and what have you. The average points per game for teams finishing as champions. Because I want to win this league.
I think all City fans should, after the start we've had, we should be aiming to at least finish top 2. But
so the average points per game for teams finishing as champions since 2004 to 5 is 2.05. So we are exceeding that at the minute. Obviously, it's early days. But that's, generally that would see you top the league. For runners up, don't want to do that. We've been there, done that. That's 1.9. 1.9. We were just below that mark in 2004 to 5. So, and then finally, if we were only looking, for playoffs, frankly, I think we should be aiming for better.
I'd agree.
But if you're just looking to end up between third and sixth, the average points per game for teams making the playoffs, and that's saying nothing about what happens in the playoffs after that. The average points per game is 1.72.
Right.
So we're well above that at the moment. But I think that's something that we can return to in 10 games' time and just see how we're performing
once
against
we
that.
get to January's time, if we revisit it and see how we do it.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on
the
that.
stats man. Music and stats man. So, well, I appreciate the effort with that. It's interesting. So we have 9 from me and 1.7 from you. I think we should just have there's an awful lot else we needed to talk about other than the fact that we have kind of touched on the Fleetwood game already. How do you see it going? Is it one that you're excited for, or could you not give two shits?
No. I'm not excited about it because we just played him recently.
At least we won't have Captain Pugwash playing in fucking background like.
Well, hopefully. I mean, a different outcome would be nice.
It would.
It?
I don't think he'll keep the same team.
I don't know what their approach is going to be. Whether they're going to rotate. I tried to look to see if Barton had had a press conference or something, but I couldn't see any comments on Fleetwood's website. So we don't know what they'll do.
They might do it tomorrow because some teams do it Thursday, some teams do it Friday. It just depends.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see. But I don't ever want to say that losing a game would be positive.
You think it would maybe mean that we don't have as many fixtures like crammed in?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. The longer term picture.
You'd love like a week
this
off,
season
wouldn't you? When the next round is.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one anyway in terms of the more fixtures that are postponed for COVID, and there will be more, whether that's because we have cases or opposition have cases. I think the more room you have in your schedule, probably the better off you will be in the long run. That's not to say I want us to lose the game on Saturday, because I would far rather that we won.
Well, you want to win every game, but in the long run, would you be that gutted if we did lose? It'd be less than a league game because you'd be like, well, it's done now.
It won't be a disaster. And I know people could say, oh, well, you were saying when we beat Sunderland on penalties that winning games is a habit.
It was for that first one, though. It was getting that proverbial monkey off your back, wasn't it? And
that felt much more important because it was establishing or helping to establish something, whereas we're in a flow now. Okay, we've lost against Swindon, but, I don't think were we to lose against Swindon and Fleetwood that people would say, well, we'll see where we go from here because that puts us on a downward turn. But
it's two cup games in 3 days that we've got, isn't it? So I can't imagine.
Really not excited about either.
No, I mean,
fair. I would be if I was going to Harrogate on Tuesday.
That's what I was going to say. I think if we could go to Harrogate, I think that that's a ground that we'd never have done before with City. So it'd be a nice ground to take and a night game as well under the lights. But he's going to play a basic under 23s.
Betty's tea room away.
Make sure you've got your Jack Wills on. But yeah, I mean, I think he'll go mainly under 23s like before. I don't think he'll have some first teamers in there, I'm sure, but he'll want to make sure that there's no silly injuries picked up like Smallwood did against West Ham.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to.
You don't want that position again, do you?
No, you don't want to be losing players for more important fixtures. That possibly is one selling point. I would look forward to watching Callum Jones and James Berry again.
James Berry's injured at the minute, unfortunately. Actually, he's out for a few weeks. He got injured against Cardiff under 23s, which they lost. They're doing quite well, the 23s, as are the under 18s. Just thought we'd give them a quick mention because they won in the first round of the FA Youth Cup last night. They won 2-0 away at Crewe, who often have a good academy, so it was an excellent result for them. There's some good young players coming through the ranks at City, which is always nice to see. So maybe later in the rounds of the EFL trophy, you might even see some of the 18s making that. I know there are some 18s that have made the 23 squad over the last few weeks. So always good to keep an eye on the young lads. Just a shame we can't go watch them, because it doesn't come under the same thing. But I'm not even sure if under 23s and under 18s football is going to be postponed as well. I'm not sure if that comes under the remit.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
I'm not 100% sure is my answer. Try and find out, but because everything from steps 3 to 6 and then grassroots has kind of gone, you'd expect it not to continue, but maybe they're exempt from that because it's like reserves or 23s, under 18s of an elite team. So
yeah, technically professional football, isn't it?
So I just thought it was worth mentioning the 18s because it's always good when the young lads do well, isn't it? Yeah, we're not excited for Fleetwood. We're not really excited for Harrogate, but I'm sure they'll be games we watch anyway.
I'll be watching them both. What else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do on a Saturday?
I can't go anywhere else and spend my money.
You just waste it on some vinyl and merch or something, through lockdown. Yeah. Was there any AOB you were going to talk about? I was just going to mention the Chillo thing, because they've gone over £32,000 now. As of today, which
fantastic. I still need to make a donation.
But obviously, the donations will keep coming in and in, won't they? So it's
I need to get one of those T-shirts as well from the 222 collection.
Yeah, that would. I think it's great cause and everything, and I think it's really good that the club's done that. I was relieved that they came out with something. In fairness, over the past few years, they've not really supported things like that, have they? But I think this is one they couldn't turn down. I think there's good people. No. There's good people at the club, and I think often that the good work by them will often be undone by somebody higher than them. But in this case, they've done the right thing. So I think it should be said that.
Yeah, I think that is worth noting. That there are an awful lot of good people at the club. I know I had an experience in lockdown where the club's website were doing kind of like flashback features of photographs from kind of prominent games over our recent history, and a few of the pictures that they featured for the Arsenal game from 2008, you could clearly see myself, my dad, and my brother in it. The crowd shots, and don't have very many photographs of the three of us from football because you're too busy watching the game to take it, But since he's passed away, like things like that are quite important. So I emailed the club, and Matt Carrington was kind enough to supply me with copies of the pictures as well, which was greatly appreciated.
Yeah,
so it's like you say, there are people who will. Yeah, and it's funny that because that was maybe the only thing that I wanted to mention for any other business, and probably something that we could have mentioned before when we spoke about him. But it is something else that's worthy of praise for the club is the fact that they're exploring a new deal for Lewis Potter.
I was going to actually mention that, and then it dripped out my head because we started talking about how Device couldn't defend. But that is definitely it's really
funny
important.
That, isn't it? Talking about talking about Device not being able to defend, and it also coinciding with the absence of thought. It's almost like
I'm not sure what it is. We'll come back to it. It'd be excellent if we could tie it down to a new deal, because then even if clubs do come a calling, which I'm sure they will do at some point, if we don't make it out this league, there are going to be people who start to offer him more money and promises and things. If we've got him to a good contract, then at least we'll get at least value for him,
There's that. But also, you don't want to reach a situation where, all right, he's got 2 years left on his deal, but we've seen it before with young players who've done well, Max Clark and Josh Tyman coming up again, where they've not been rewarded for stepping into the team.
We need to make sure we keep hold of him. They weren't being paid or offered deals that were kind of commensurate with their level of ability and contribution, and you end up
with players who walk away from the club with a sour taste in their mouths. And Lewis Potter's the same as both of them in that he's a whole lad, and you want them to, when their time does come, where they move on and play somewhere else, you want them to think about playing for City with pride and with only fond memories. But we maybe haven't looked after them too well in the past. So it was encouraging for me to see that they're doing
trying
that.
to get the contract sorted, aren't they? So it's a definite positive. See, I told you it was a shit sandwich. Start with something good and end with something good. So yeah, well, there's one thing I was just going to mention to you, Rich. We have a new country. It isn't Chad. And okay,
I'm not interested then.
Well, what I've realised from this, Anchor keep changing the way they do things. Obviously, Anchor's who we record with and who hosts the podcast. But usually it was the countries where you think, oh, we've got a new country. It's come up with the data that there's listeners here now, and actually they keep changing. They only give you a top 20, so there are more.
Right, okay.
But the current top 20, the top 5 is obviously UK, then the US, Ireland is number 3, Norway number 4, Australia number 5, and there's a new entry at where were we? At 10th. We have Bolivia.
Number 10 with a bullet. Bolivia.
So that was a bit of a bolt from the blue, that one. The 20th listener is Germany, followed by Vietnam, then India, Italy, United Arab Emirates, and then Cambodia. So we do have tigers all over the world. We did shout out the Norwegian tiger a couple of weeks ago. I think you'll remember that.
Yes.
But yeah, we'd love to hear from other people too. So if you are listening abroad, drop us a message so we can mention you personally.
There is a link on our Anchor page, I believe, where you can.
Yeah, it's the same link each time, so I keep posting it every time we've got a new. Every time there's been a game, so you can talk about that. Any thoughts that you've got or anything like that. There was just a couple of tweets I was going to read you, Rich, from our listeners. So we didn't have the recording sent this week, but we did have a couple of tweets to read you. I'm going to go with this. Just give me 1 second. Here we are. So first of all, we've got Ollie Harsley. And Ollie talked about how good it was to see the under-23s and the under-18s pick up wins. A lot of things to be positive about with our academy and plenty of young, exciting players who are ready to make an impression should they be given a chance in the first team. So it's kind of just what we've been talking about, really. So always good that other City listeners are wanting the young lads to do well. And then also, if I can find it, let's just see. Oh, it keeps zooming in all the time. There we go. Let's just go. No, yeah, reset. There we go. There was a couple others that have given us. There we go. Where we are.
I bet you're the kind of bloke that talks to the machines when you go to sell.
I'm definitely not.
Oh, what's this
I'd rather
stupid
just
thing
talk
doing?
to a bloke. What's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah. Luddite.
Absolute bloody Luddite. Stupid. I can't seem to find it. There were two
unexpected item in the bagging area.
There were 2 others that had sent me messages and they're not there now. So unless they've retracted them, then we could well have done. I don't know. So never mind. But yeah, there's always that option open. And just have a look on the Tigers Blair account on Twitter, and there will be a link to our voice recording where you can record whichever message you want to us. I'd rather it not be abuse, but if it is, at least you're still getting you're taking the time out to give us abuse, which fair enough. But no, if you've got any reactions, particularly from the game, particularly at Fleetwood, I think will be the main one that we talk about. With it being FA Cup first round, I was kind of disappointed we didn't get somebody random like Marine or Havant and Waterlooville or somebody, just for a change really, rather than someone that we've just played and beat us quite soundly. But
it would have been quite nice to get. I'm just thinking like I'd quite like to have played Scully or
Yeah,
something like that and
yeah,
just battered him.
yeah. It'd have been good, that, wouldn't it? Well, we get to play Grimsby in a couple of weeks in the EFL Trophy. Oh, sorry, Papa
Yeah.
John's. So that'll be a
Fair
to
dominoes.
be fair. But I think that was everything we wanted to talk about this week, wasn't it? So good chat as always. And we live in hope for another couple of wins over the next few days. So Forza.
Won't be heartbroken
but it's
if
always
we don't
nice to
win,
win, isn't
but
it?
thoughts are all the same.
Always good to win.
Come on, we're winners, man.
We're not tired, man. Come on, we're winners. So yeah, we will we'll speak next week, and leave us any messages. Follow us on Twitter and everything else, and we'll speak to you soon, I'm sure. Forza.